You know, there are moments in life when someone you've watched for years, someone who's been part of your daily routine, suddenly opens up about things they kept private for decades. And when that happens, it changes everything you thought you knew about them. Today, we're talking about Sean Hannity, the man who's been a household name in American media for over 30 years. At 63 years old, he's finally addressing the rumors that have followed him throughout his entire career. And trust me, what he's revealed is going to surprise you. For those of you who might not be familiar with Sean Hannity, let me paint you a picture. This is a guy who started from absolutely nothing. We're talking about someone who grew up in a working-class family in New York, the youngest of 4 kids, raised by parents who worked hard every single day just to make ends meet. His father was a family court officer, and his mother worked as a corrections officer at the county jail. They weren't wealthy. They weren't connected to powerful people, and they certainly didn't have any special advantages to give their son. What they did have was a strong work ethic and values they passed down to their children. Sean's journey to becoming one of the most recognized voices in media wasn't some fairy tale story where everything fell into place perfectly. In fact, it was a complete opposite. After graduating from high school, he tried college not once, but twice, attending both New York University and Adelphi University. But college just wasn't for him at that time in his life. He dropped out and had to figure out his own path forward, which is something a lot of people can relate to. Sometimes the traditional route just doesn't work for everyone, and that's okay. So what did he do? He took whatever jobs he could find. He worked as a contractor, doing construction work with his hands. He painted houses, he did general contracting, and he even worked as a bartender to pay his bills. Can you imagine? The same guy who would eventually interview presidents and influence millions of Americans was once mixing drinks and wondering what his future would hold. But here's the thing about Sean Hannity that people don't always appreciate. He never gave up on his dream, even when it seemed impossible. His break into radio came almost by accident, or maybe it was destiny, depending on how you look at it. In the late 80s, he volunteered at a college radio station at UC Santa Barbara. He wasn't getting paid. He wasn't famous. He was just a guy who loved talking about politics and current events, doing it for free because he was passionate about it. That volunteer position eventually led to his first paid radio job in Huntsville, Alabama. And let me tell you, that first job didn't last long. He was fired after less than a year because his views were considered too controversial. But did that stop him? Absolutely not. He moved to Atlanta and landed another radio gig. He kept pushing forward, kept refining his voice, kept building his audience one listen at a time. Then in 1996, everything changed. Fox News was launching, and they needed fresh talent. They needed people who could connect with everyday Americans, people who weren't afraid to speak their minds. Roger Ailes, the legendary media executive, saw something special in Sean Hannity. He gave him a shot, pairing him with Alan Colmes for a show called Hannity and Colmes. That show became a massive success, running for over a decade. When it ended in 2009, Sean got his own solo show simply called Hannity, and it's been one of the highest-rated programs in cable news ever since. We're talking about millions of viewers tuning in night after night, year after year. He also continued his radio career, hosting The Sean Hannity Show, which is syndicated on over 500 stations across America. Think about that for a second. 500 stations. That's an incredible reach. But here's where things get really interesting, and this is what we need to talk about. Throughout his entire career, there have been rumors swirling around Sean Hannity. Rumors about his personal life, his wealth, his connections, his influence behind the scenes, and even his relationship with former President Donald Trump. People have whispered about these things for years, making assumptions, creating stories, and sometimes spreading outright lies. And for the most part, Sean kept quiet about it all. He focused on his work, on delivering the news and commentary his audience expected from him. Until now, at 63 years old, Sean Hannity has finally decided to address these rumors head-on. And what is said is fascinating because it gives us a glimpse into the real person behind the television persona. Let's start with one of the biggest rumors that's followed him around, the one about his personal wealth and how he made his money. There have been countless stories suggesting that Sean Hannity has some kind of secret real estate empire that has been quietly buying up properties across the country using shell companies to hide his investments. And you know what? Parts of that rumor are actually true. Sean has confirmed that, yes, he does invest in real estate. In fact, he's invested in quite a lot of real estate over the years. But here's what people got wrong. This wasn't some shady scheme or secret operation. It was simply a smart businessman making investments with the money he earned from his incredibly successful career. Think about it logically. The guy has been on television and radio for nearly 30 years, pulling in a reported salary of over $40 million a year at his peak. Of course, he's going to invest that money somewhere. What Sean has explained is that he worked with financial advisors and investment managers, just like many wealthy people do, to diversify his portfolio. Real estate happened to be one of those investments. His own properties in multiple states, and yes, some of those properties were held in LLCs and other corporate structures, which is completely normal and legal for real estate investments of that scale. It protects your personal assets and provides tax advantages that any financial advisor would recommend. There was nothing sinister about it, despite what some people tried to suggest. Another rumor that's persisted for years involves his relationship with Donald Trump. People have questioned whether Sean Hannity was just a journalist covering a political figure, or whether he was actually an advisor to the president, someone who had real influence over policy decisions. Critics accuse him of blurring the line between journalism and political advocacy, suggesting that he was too close to Trump to report objectively. This criticism got especially intense when it was revealed that Sean and Donald Trump spoke on the phone regularly, sometimes multiple times a day during the Trump presidency. Sean has now addressed this directly, and his answer is both honest and thought-provoking. He's never claimed to be a traditional journalist. In fact, he's been very clear throughout his career that he's a conservative commentator and opinion host, not a straight news reporter. His show is opinion and analysis, not hard news. So when people criticize him for having a close relationship with Trump, his response is essentially, so what? He's never pretended to be neutral. He's never claimed to be an objective observer. He's a conservative who supported a conservative president, and he makes no apologies for that. But he's also confirmed that, yes, he did talk to President Trump regularly. They discussed politics, current events, and strategy. Sean would offer his perspective as someone with decades of experience in media and understanding of what connects with everyday Americans. Were those conversations influential? Probably to some degree. But Sean maintains that he was never making policy decisions or running the country from behind the scenes. He was simply doing what commentators do, sharing his opinions and insights with someone who valued his perspective. Then there's a rumor about his personal life, specifically his divorce. Sean Hannity was married to Jill Rhodes for over 20 years. They met in Alabama back when he was still trying to make it in radio, and she was a journalist. They built a life together, had 2 children, and by all outward appearances, seemed like a stable family. So when news broke in 2020 that they had actually divorced a year before, people were shocked. They had kept it completely private, not making any public announcement until more than a year after the divorce was finalized. Naturally, rumors started flying. People speculated about what had happened. Was there infidelity? Was there some scandal? Did his career destroy his marriage? The gossip was relentless. Sean has finally addressed this, and what he said is actually quite touching and mature. He explained that he and Jill simply grew apart over the years. After more than 2 decades of marriage, they realized they wanted different things in life. They had different priorities, different goals, and they made the difficult decision to end their marriage amicably. What's really remarkable is how they handled it. They put their children first, making sure the divorce was as smooth and private as possible. They didn't air their dirty laundry in public. They didn't turn it into a media circus. They remained friends and committed co-parents. Sean has spoken about how much he respects Jill and how grateful he is for the years they had together and the beautiful children they raised. That level of maturity and respect is something you don't always see, especially when it comes to high-profile divorces. Another aspect of Sean's life that is opened up about is the intense pressure and criticism he's faced throughout his career. Being one of the most prominent conservative voices in America has made him a target. He has been criticized, mocked, investigated, and attacked from every angle imaginable. There have been boycotts of his advertisers, protesters outside Fox News headquarters, and endless negative articles written about him. Some of that criticism has been legitimate, but much of it has been politically motivated attacks designed to silence him or damage his credibility. Sean has now revealed just how much that pressure affected him over the years. He has talked about the stress of constantly being in the public eye, of having every word you say analyzed and twisted, of knowing that millions of people either love you or hate you with equal passion. He has discussed the toll it took on his mental health at times, the sleepless nights worrying about his family's safety because of the threats he received. This is a side of fame that people don't often see or talk about. But through it all, Sean says he never considered quitting. He never thought about walking away from the microphone or the camera. Why? Because he genuinely believes in what he's doing. He believes that his giving voice to millions of Americans who feel ignored or dismissed by the mainstream media and the political establishment. He believes is holding powerful people accountable and fighting for the values he was raised with. That sense of purpose, that belief that his work matters, is what kept him going even during the darkest times. Sean has also confirmed something that many people suspected but wasn't widely known. He has been incredibly generous with his wealth, donating millions of dollars to various charities and causes over the years. He has supported veterans organizations, law enforcement charities, and programs that help underprivileged children. Much of this giving was done quietly, without publicity or fanfare. He didn't do it for recognition or tax benefits. He did it because he genuinely wanted to help people and give back to the community that supported him throughout his career. One of the most interesting revelations Sean has made recently involves his thoughts on the future of media and his own legacy. At 63, he is definitely in the later stages of his career, though he shows no signs of slowing down just yet. He has reflected on how much the media landscape has changed since he started. When he began in radio, there was no internet, no social media, no podcasts, no streaming services. Now, the whole world has changed, and traditional media is struggling to adapt. Sean has acknowledged that his time in the spotlight won't last forever. Eventually, a new generation of voices will take over, and that's exactly how it should be. But he wants to make sure that when he does eventually step back, he leaves behind something meaningful. He wants to be remembered not just as a controversial figure or a partisan commentator, but as someone who genuinely cared about his country and his audience. He wants people to know that everything he did, every show he hosted, every opinion he shared, came from a sincere place. What's really struck me about Sean's recent openness is how human it makes him seem. It's easy to look at someone on television every night and forget that they're a real person with struggles, doubts, fears, and regrets just like everyone else. Sean Hannity isn't some untouchable media titan living in an ivory tower. He's a guy from a working-class family who worked incredibly hard, made smart decisions, faced enormous challenges, and built an amazing career through determination and persistence. The rumors that have followed him throughout his career were, in many ways, inevitable. When you're that successful and that visible, people will always talk. They'll speculate, they'll make assumptions, and they'll sometimes believe things that aren't true. What matters is how you respond to those rumors, and Sean's decision to finally address them head-on shows a level of confidence and maturity that's admirable. He's not running from his past or hiding from criticism. He's owning his story, the good and the bad, and letting people see the real person behind the persona. As we wrap up this deep dive into Sean Hannity's revelations, I think there are some important lessons we can all take away from his story. First, success rarely comes easy. Sean's journey from bartender and construction worker to one of the most influential media personalities in America took decades of hard work, countless setbacks, and an unwavering belief in himself. Second, staying true to your values matters more than pleasing everyone. Sean has never tried to be all things to all people. He knows who he is, what he believes, and has never apologized for it. And third, privacy matters, even for public figures. The way Sean handled his divorce and personal investment shows that you can be a public person while still maintaining boundaries around your private life. At 63, Sean Hannity has finally confirmed the rumors, separated fact from fiction, and given us all a more complete picture of who he really is. Whether you love him or hate him, whether you agree with his politics or not, you have to respect the journey he has been on and the transparency he is showing at this stage of his life. He is not a perfect person, and has never claimed to be. He is just someone who took the opportunities life gave him and made the absolute most of them. So there you have it. The truth behind the rumors, the real story of Sean Hannity as he's finally chosen to tell it. If you found this video interesting and informative, I need you to do me a huge favor right now. Smash that like button to help this video reach more people who are curious about the truth. Share it with your friends and family who've been wondering about these rumors for years. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video where we dig deep into the stories everyone's talking about. We're building an amazing community here of people who want the real story, not just the headlines, and I want you to be part of it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.